Hey everyone, welcome back to Love English Lab, the place where you learn to speak English naturally, confidently, and with real conversations that help you grow. I'm Charlotte, and I'm really happy you're here with us.
And I'm Megan. If you want to improve your English with practical, friendly lessons that feel real and easy to follow, don't forget to subscribe and join our amazing community of learners from all over the world.
Today we're talking about something that every learner struggles with at some point: how to answer questions in English smoothly and confidently, no matter what topic comes up.
Yes, because many learners can understand a question, but they freeze when it's time to answer. Not because they don't know English, but because they don't know how to begin.
Exactly. Fluent people don't answer questions with perfect grammar. They answer confidently because they use simple structures, clear patterns, and natural English tricks that make their responses smooth and easy to follow.
And the good news is that anyone can learn these patterns. You don't need advanced vocabulary or complex sentences. You just need a few reliable ways to start speaking.
That's the key. Fluent speakers don't search for the perfect words. They follow a structure, they answer in steps, they give themselves time to think without sounding nervous.
Yes, and that's what this episode is all about. We're going to show you how fluent people answer questions in English: personal questions, opinion questions, unexpected questions, and even difficult ones where you're not sure what to say.
We'll break down how to respond naturally using simple, flexible tools. Things like starting with your general idea, adding a small detail, giving a short example, or even redirecting the question when you need a moment.
And these techniques work everywhere: at work, in conversation, in interviews, or just chatting with someone you've just met.
And I think a lot of learners will love this topic because answering questions is a big part of communication. When you can answer any question calmly, your confidence grows fast.
Absolutely. You stop feeling afraid of conversations because you know you always have something to say.
And I want to mention something important. Fluent speakers don't always answer perfectly. They answer comfortably.
Exactly. They give themselves time to think. They use simple phrases to start. They connect ideas one step at a time. That's what makes them sound fluent: the flow, not the complexity.
So in this episode, we'll explore the patterns fluent people use, the phrases that help you sound ready and confident, and the mindset that keeps your answers smooth.
And by the end, you'll know exactly how to respond to almost any question in English, even when you weren't expecting it.
So, are you ready to discover how fluent speakers do it?
Let's get started. So, Charlotte, let's begin with something simple but very powerful: how fluent people start their answers. Because honestly, the beginning is where most learners freeze.
Yes, that first second is the hardest part. Your brain hears the question, you understand it, but there's this little moment where you think, how do I begin? And if you don't have a strategy, that moment becomes panic.
Exactly. But fluent speakers rarely have that problem because they use starter phrases, little expressions that give them time to think, while sounding calm and natural.
Right. These are not complex sentences. They're short, everyday phrases that help you enter the conversation smoothly. And the great thing is, once you start talking, the rest of the answer becomes much easier.
One of the simplest and most natural starters is just reacting. For example, if someone asks you, "What do you think about working from home?" you can begin with, "Oh, that's a good question," or "Let me think for a second."
Exactly. These small reactions are a lifesaver. They create space for your mind to organize your ideas, and they make you sound confident, not confused.
Another great starter is repeating part of the question. Fluent speakers do this all the time. If someone asks, "Why do you like learning English?" a fluent speaker might begin with, "Why do I like it?" "Well," and then continue.
Yes, it sounds natural, and it buys you a few seconds to think. You're not saying anything advanced, just reflecting the question back in a friendly way.
And it also shows the listener that you're engaged. You're not just giving an answer, you're connecting to the conversation.
Another common way fluent speakers start is with a general idea. Even if they don't know the details yet, They give a simple, broad answer to get the flow going. Something like, I guess the main reason is, or, well, in my experience.
Yes, that's a big one. It helps your brain warm up. You start with something easy, and then your mind naturally finds more ideas as you speak.
And sometimes fluent speakers begin by framing their answer. For example, if someone asks, "What do you do to relax?" you could start with, "It depends on the day," or "There are a few things."
I love that approach because it gives you structure before you even say the real answer. And structure is what makes answers smooth.
Exactly. A smooth answer usually has 3 simple parts: a general idea, a small detail, and maybe a short example.
Yes. And the first part, the general idea, is what helps you start without pressure. For example, honestly, I like simple things, or I think the biggest reason is.
And then you add the detail. Something like, I really enjoy going for a walk, or I like spending time away from screens. Very simple.
And if you want to make it even clearer, you finish with a little example. For instance, I usually go out for a walk in the evening. Or, for example, I like reading before bed.
And the nice thing is, you can use that structure for almost any question. Personal questions, opinion questions, even difficult questions.
Yes, fluent speakers are not magically prepared for every question. They're just good at using simple patterns they trust.
And another thing we should mention is that fluent speakers don't rush. They let their voice flow slowly. They breathe. They take their time.
Yes, that's such an important point. Many learners speak fast because they think speed equals fluency, but fluent speakers speak at a comfortable rhythm.
Exactly. And the beginning of an answer is a perfect place to slow down. For example, well, I'd say, or, I think. These are natural pauses, not mistakes.
I think many learners forget that native speakers also think out loud. They don't give perfect answers right away. They warm up as they speak.
Right. And these warm-up phrases help keep the conversation relaxed. They show that speaking is a process, not a performance.
Another thing fluent speakers do is adjust their tone depending on the question. If the question is serious, they start softly. If it's simple, they start playfully.
Yes. For example, if someone asks, "What's your biggest challenge right now?" you might start with a gentle, "Well, I guess it's finding balance."
And if someone asks something light, like, "Do you like ice cream?" you can start with a smile in your voice. "Oh, of course. Who doesn't?"
Tone communicates so much, sometimes even more than the words themselves.
Exactly. Which is why learners should practice not only what to say, but how to start with the right rhythm.
And you don't need to memorize hundreds of phrases. You only need a few you feel comfortable with. For example, "That's a good question. Let me think." Well, I'd say, "Honestly, I think. It depends." In my case,
Yes, and you can use any of these in almost every situation. They're flexible and safe.
and once you start with something simple, the fear disappears. Your mind opens. The words begin to flow.
That's exactly what fluent people do. They don't wait until the perfect answer appears. They start talking, and the answer appears as they speak.
So, now that we know how fluent speakers begin their answers, I think the next step is showing how they organize their ideas to keep the conversation clear and smooth.
Yes, because the beginning is important, but the structure is what keeps you fluent all the way through the answer.
Perfect. Let's talk about that next.
So, Charlotte, in the last part, we showed how fluent speakers start answering a question. But starting is only the first step. If you want your answer to sound smooth and confident from beginning to end, you need structure.
Yes. And this is something learners don't usually think about. They think native speakers answer randomly, but that's not true. Fluent people use simple patterns to organize their ideas, and these patterns make their answers clear and easy to follow.
Exactly. And the most important thing is that the structure doesn't need to be complicated. In fact, the simpler it is, the more natural you sound.
Right. One of the easiest structures fluent speakers use is what I call general, detail, example. It works for almost any question.
Yes, and you can hear this pattern everywhere. For example, if someone asks, "How do you stay motivated?" a fluent speaker might say, "Well, I try to keep things simple. I focus on small goals. For example, I like to plan only one important task each morning."
Perfect. You start general, add one detail, and finish with a short example. That's all you need to sound organized and fluent.
And the great thing is that this pattern keeps your answer clean. You don't jump around, you don't get lost. You guide the listener step by step.
Another common pattern fluent speakers use is past, present, future. This is great for questions about personal experiences or opinions that change over time.
Yes, if someone asks, "Do you enjoy learning languages?" you might say, "Well, when I was younger, I didn't enjoy it much. Now I really like it because it helps me connect with people. And in the future, I hope to learn even more languages."
And that structure makes your answer sound thoughtful and complete. Even if the question didn't ask for all three parts, the flow feels natural.
Exactly. It gives your answer rhythm and direction.
Another useful structure is two-part response. Fluent speakers use this one all the time when they have more than one idea. They often say something like, "I think it's two things," or "There are a couple of reasons."
Yes, and then they give their 2 points clearly. First and second, this helps the listener follow easily.
Right. And it also helps the speaker stay organized. You know where your answer starts and where it ends.
And most learners don't realize how often native speakers use this structure. For example, if someone asks, "Why do people enjoy traveling?" you might answer, "Well, I think it's two things. First, people love discovering new places. Second, it helps them take a break from their routines." Simple and natural.
Exactly. No stress, no confusion.
Another pattern I see fluent speakers use is opinion, reason, closing thought. This is great for opinion questions. It helps you give your answer, explain it, and finish confidently.
Yes. For example, if someone asks, "Do you think social media is helpful?" you could say, "I think it can be helpful. It lets people stay connected easily, but I also think it depends on how you use it." That's a complete answer with only a few sentences.
And it sounds mature and fluent because the structure is clear.
Exactly. And here's something important. Fluent speakers don't always know what they want to say at the beginning. The structure helps them discover their ideas as they speak.
Yes, structure is like a safety net. It keeps you from feeling lost.
And you don't need to memorize the structures. You just need to practice them enough so your brain recognizes them automatically.
Another technique fluent speakers use is small transitions. These are little phrases that connect ideas smoothly. Also, another thing is, the good thing is, however.
Yes. These transitions are the secret to sounding fluent. They don't need to be fancy, just small connectors that guide your listener.
And the cool thing is that transitions buy you time to think. You can say, "Another thing is," and while you're saying it, your brain is searching for the next idea.
Exactly. Transitions give your mind a few extra seconds without sounding nervous.
And fluent speakers don't worry if they repeat transitions. They use the ones they feel comfortable with.
Yes, fluency doesn't require variety, it requires clarity.
And one more pattern that learners forget is short answer first, explanation after. This is incredibly useful when you don't know how to begin.
Right. If someone asks you, "Do you prefer big cities or small towns?" you can start with, "I prefer big cities," and then explain why.
Yes, that short answer gives you a clear starting point. Then your explanation flows naturally.
And it makes your answer sound confident because you're not hesitating or delaying the main idea.
So, if we look at all these patterns, general to detail, past to present to future, two-part answers, opinion structure, transitions, short answer first, they all share one idea. Simplicity creates fluency.
Yes, fluent people aren't thinking, "How do I say this perfectly?" They're thinking, "What simple structure can I follow?"
Exactly. And once learners start using these structures, their answers become much clearer and smoother right away.
So now that we've shown how fluent speakers organize their ideas, I think we should move to something that learners find exciting: How fluent people answer difficult or unexpected questions.
Yes, because that is where most people lose confidence. But fluent speakers have great tricks for that too.
Let's explore that next. So, Megan, now that we've talked about how fluent speakers organize their answers, we should look at something that makes most learners nervous: difficult or unexpected questions.
Yes, that's a big one. Because a lot of people feel confident when the question is simple, like, what's your favorite food? But when someone asks something deeper or something they weren't expecting, they freeze.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, native speakers also get surprised by questions. They also need time to think. But the difference is that they know how to handle that moment without sounding stressed.
Yes, and I think the first thing fluent speakers do is something very simple. They don't rush. If they need a moment, they take it with a natural little phrase.
Right. They use what I call thinking phrases. Things like, let me think for a second, or that's a good question, or, well, I haven't thought about that before. These phrases sound natural, and they give you a little space.
And it's interesting because using a thinking phrase actually makes you sound more fluent, not less. It shows that you're calm and confident enough to take your time.
Exactly. Imagine someone asks, what's the biggest challenge in your life right now? If you immediately panic, your answer will sound messy. But if you say, wow, that's an interesting question, let me think, suddenly the moment becomes relaxed.
Yes, and it shows emotional control too. You're not just reacting, you're choosing how to respond.
Another thing fluent speakers do is simplify the question before answering it. They don't try to give the perfect answer. They just focus on one angle.
Right. If someone asks a big question like, what do you think about education today? You don't need to explain everything. You can pick one idea and talk about it. You can say something like, well, in my opinion, the biggest problem is the lack of resources. And then just explain that one point.
And that's enough. Listeners don't expect you to solve the whole world. They just want one clear idea.
Exactly. And fluent speakers often start their answer with a soft introduction, like, I guess the main thing for me is, or, from my point of view. These soft openings make the answer feel natural and confident.
Another great strategy fluent speakers use is to share a small personal story, even a short one. It makes the answer feel real and easy to follow.
Yes. For example, if someone asks, why do you think reading is important? You can say, well, for me, reading helped a lot when I was younger. I used to read every night, and it made me feel more curious. That's a simple memory, but it creates a strong answer.
And it's so much easier than building a big philosophical explanation.
Exactly. Personal stories make everything easier. You don't need perfect grammar. You just talk about something you lived.
Another thing fluent speakers do is use soft disagreement. When they don't agree with the question or the idea behind it, they don't say, no, that's wrong. They use gentle language like, I see your point, but, or, I'm not sure I agree with that.
Yes, these soft openings show respect and confidence, and they help your answer sound mature and fluent.
For example, imagine someone says, don't you think technology is ruining our lives? A fluent speaker might say, I get why people feel that way, but I actually see both sides. And then they can give a balanced answer.
And answering in a balanced way is something fluent speakers do a lot. When a question has strong emotions behind it, they talk about both positives and negatives. It shows perspective.
Yes, they often say things like, well, on one hand, and on the other hand. That way, they don't sound extreme.
And even if the question is complicated, this approach makes the answer sound thoughtful and organized.
Another trick fluent speakers use is redirecting the question slightly. Not avoiding it, but choosing the part they feel most comfortable answering.
Yes, if someone asks, what's the meaning of life? You don't need to panic. You can say something like, I'm not sure about the meaning of life, but I think finding purpose in small things helps a lot. You take the question and bring it to a place where you can answer easily.
And that's exactly what fluent communication is: responding in a way that makes sense to you instead of trying to give the perfect answer.
Another thing fluent speakers do is finish their answer with a soft landing. They don't just stop suddenly. They close with a small phrase like, "But yeah, that's how I see it," or "That's pretty much my opinion."
Yes, those little endings make the answer feel complete. Without them, the listener might feel like something is missing.
And I think the biggest secret is that fluent speakers are not afraid of silence. They don't fill every second with words. They take small pauses, and those pauses make their speech sound natural.
Yes, English has rhythm, a calm rhythm, and when you use small pauses, your voice sounds confident and thoughtful.
And the great news for learners is that all of these techniques can be learned. Thinking phrases, soft openings, simple structures, small stories, balanced answers, soft endings, none of them require advanced grammar.
Exactly, they're strategies, not vocabulary lists. And once you learn them, you can answer almost any question with confidence.
So I think the next step is to show how fluent speakers handle opinion questions, because those make learners nervous too.
Yes, that's a perfect next topic. Let's dive into that in the next chapter.
So Charlotte, now that we've talked about unexpected questions, we should move into another area that makes learners nervous: giving opinions.
Yes, absolutely. Because when someone asks for your opinion in English, it can feel personal. You want to sound polite, confident, and clear all at the same time.
Exactly. And many learners jump straight into the answer without any introduction. And that can sound a bit direct or too strong.
Right. Fluent speakers almost always start with a soft opening before they give their opinion. It makes the answer smoother and more natural.
Yes, something simple like, "I think," or "in my opinion," or "to me," can make a big difference. And there are even softer options like, "I guess," or "I'd say," which make your answer feel friendly and calm.
Those are great. For example, if someone asks, "Do you think social media is dangerous?" you can say, "Well, I'd say it depends on how you use it." Suddenly, your answer feels balanced, not extreme.
Exactly. And fluent speakers love using the word "depends" because most questions don't have just one clear answer.
Yes, it gives you space. You can say, "It depends on the situation," or "It depends on the person." It shows that you see different sides.
And that's something learners don't always realize. Giving an opinion isn't about choosing one side immediately. It's about explaining how you see things.
Right? And fluent speakers often structure their opinion naturally without thinking about it. They start with a soft opening, then give their main point, then explain it with a short example.
Yes, and examples are powerful because they make your opinion feel real. If you say, "I think reading is important," it sounds fine. But if you add, "because it helps me relax after work," suddenly the answer is alive.
Exactly. It becomes personal, relatable, and more fluent.
Another thing fluent speakers do is show flexibility. They don't present their opinion as the only truth. They say things like, "I might be wrong, but," or "from what I've seen," or "based on my experience."
Yes, those expressions are gold. They show humility and emotional intelligence, and they make your English sound mature.
Let's model it. Ask me an opinion question.
Okay, what do you think about working from home?
I'd say it really depends on the person. For me, it's great because I feel more focused, but I know some people prefer the office.
Perfect. You used a soft opening, your main idea, and a balanced perspective. Very natural.
Now you try. Do you think learning English is easier now than before?
I think it is, mostly because people have more resources today. There are videos, podcasts, and online communities that help a lot.
Great. Simple, clear, and supported with a reason.
And that's really the key. You don't need complicated grammar to sound fluent, just structure.
Another thing fluent speakers do is disagree politely when someone asks an opinion they don't share.
Yes, they don't say, "No, you're wrong." They say things like, "I see your point, but," or "I'm not sure I agree with that."
Or, "I understand what you mean, but I have a different point of view." These phrases make disagreement feel respectful.
Exactly, and they help the conversation continue instead of ending suddenly.
Let's try a soft disagreement example. Ask me something I can disagree with.
Sure, don't you think everyone should learn English?
I see why a lot of people say that, but I'm not sure I agree. I think it depends on their goals and lifestyle.
Perfect, calm, respectful, and clear.
And notice how using these softeners also gives you time to think.
Yes, they give your brain a little breathing room, and that space helps you organize your ideas.
Another great technique fluent speakers use is giving two sides of an issue. They say things like, on one hand, but on the other hand.
That structure is so helpful. If someone asks, "Do you think technology is good for kids?" you can say, "On one hand, it helps them learn fast, but on the other hand, it can be distracting."
And that's enough. You don't need to give a perfect answer. Just show that you understand both sides.
Another tool fluent speakers use is stating their limits. They say, "I'm not an expert, but," or "I don't know everything about this, but."
Yes, those phrases make your answer sound honest. You're sharing your point of view without pretending to know everything.
And this is great for learners because they sometimes worry they need to sound like experts, but even native speakers don't do that.
Right? The goal is clarity, not perfection.
And one more thing fluent speakers do is use soft endings after sharing their opinion. They close naturally with something like, "That's just how I see it," or "That's my take on it."
Yes, those little endings make your answer sound complete and confident.
So if someone asks for your opinion, you don't need to panic. You just start soft, say your idea, give a small reason or example, keep your tone friendly, and finish gently.
Exactly. And once learners practice this pattern a few times, it becomes automatic.
And that's really the whole goal of fluency, answering calmly, clearly, and confidently without stressing about perfect grammar.
I think the next step is talking about how fluent speakers handle personal questions. Many learners struggle with that too.
Great idea. Let's dive into that in the next chapter.
So, Charlotte, one of the biggest challenges for English learners is when someone asks a personal question. Sometimes it's totally innocent, but it still feels uncomfortable.
Yes, definitely. And personal questions happen all the time in English conversations. People might ask about your job, your schedule, your plans, your family, even your relationship status.
Right? And learners often panic because they think they need to reveal everything or say something very specific.
Exactly. But fluent speakers rarely answer personal questions directly. They answer them in a friendly, controlled way. They share only what they want to share, but they still sound open.
Yes, that's the magic. You stay polite, but you protect your privacy at the same time.
Maybe we should show some examples. Ask me a personal question that makes people uncomfortable.
Okay. How much do you earn?
That's a classic, uncomfortable one. A fluent speaker might say something like, "Oh, it varies, but I'm comfortable." It answers the question without giving a number.
Yes, it's friendly, but it keeps your private information private. Or you can redirect slightly by saying, "Oh, I'm doing fine. How about you?" And suddenly the focus moves away from money.
Exactly. And native speakers do this all the time. They avoid giving details if they don't want to.
Another personal question is, are you married? Some learners freeze because they don't know how much they should say.
Right? And a fluent way to answer is something like, "Not at the moment," or "I'm just focusing on my life right now." It's polite, it feels complete, and it doesn't invite more uncomfortable questions.
Yes? And if someone wants to give even less information, they can simply say, "Oh, it's a long story," with a friendly tone.
I love that one. It makes the moment light, and people usually respect the boundary.
Another situation learners mention a lot is when someone asks about their future plans. Something like, "When are you having kids?" or "When are you moving?" Those questions can feel very personal.
Oh yes, definitely. A fluent speaker might respond with something soft like, "Oh, I'm not sure yet," or "I haven't really thought about that." These phrases close the topic gently.
Right. It's a way to say, I don't want to talk about this, without saying it directly.
And here's something important. Fluent speakers use tone to make the answer sound friendly. Even a short answer becomes polite when the tone is warm.
Yes. For example, saying, I don't want to talk about that, sounds cold, but saying, oh, I'm not really sure about that yet, sounds open, even if you're actually avoiding the question.
Exactly. Tone changes everything.
Another trick fluent speakers use is giving a general answer instead of a specific one. If someone asks, where do you live? You can say, I live near the city, or I'm in the northern part. You don't need to give your exact address.
Yes, and that works with almost any personal question. General answers feel complete and polite.
Right, and learners often think they need to answer with long details, but short answers are actually the norm.
Yes, native speakers answer personal questions with very short sentences all the time. For example,
Do you live alone?
for now, yes. Friendly, short, safe.
Or are you dating someone?
I'm just taking life easy these days. That's polite and vague.
Another powerful tool fluent speakers use is humor. If the question feels too direct, they sometimes make a light joke to soften the moment.
Yes. For example, if someone asks, why aren't you married yet? You can laugh lightly and say, I'm still waiting for my movie moment. It changes the whole mood.
Exactly. Humor puts distance between you and the question without creating tension.
Another thing fluent speakers do is flip the question back, but in a softer way. If someone asks, why don't you have kids? You can respond, oh, life takes everyone on different paths. What about you? It moves the conversation away from you.
Yes, and it does it politely, without conflict.
And here's something learners forget. You don't need to justify your personal life to strangers. English gives you tools to stay polite while still keeping your boundaries.
Exactly. And sometimes the best answer is something like, oh, that's a bit personal, but said with a smile. It's surprisingly common.
Yes, tone makes it sound friendly, not angry.
Another great expression fluent speakers use is, I prefer not to say. It's direct but still polite.
Yes, and it works for anything: money, relationships, politics, family issues. And because it's simple, it doesn't create drama.
And here's something interesting. Fluent speakers also use their body language to keep things smooth. A little smile, a soft laugh, a relaxed posture. These small things make the answer feel natural.
Yes, communication is not just words, it's presence.
And the more a learner practices these soft responses, the easier it becomes to handle uncomfortable questions.
Exactly. Fluency grows when you feel in control of the conversation, not pushed by it.
And I think this brings us to a great conclusion point. How about we wrap everything up with a final reflection on what answering any question truly means?
Perfect. Let's finish with that.
You know, Charlotte, now that we've walked through all these different strategies, I keep thinking about one simple idea. Fluency isn't about giving perfect answers. It's about staying calm and connected, no matter what someone asks you.
I completely agree. When you know how to answer any question, simple, difficult, personal, or unexpected, you start feeling free in English. You're not scared of the conversation anymore.
Yes, and that freedom changes everything. When you stop worrying about the right answer, you start enjoying the moment. You listen more, you breathe more, and your voice becomes more natural.
Exactly. And the best part is that nothing we talked about today depends on advanced grammar. You don't need big vocabulary or complicated sentences. You just need simple tools and a calm mind.
Yes, thinking phrases, soft openings, small stories, gentle disagreement, general answers. These things make you sound fluent even when your English is still growing.
And they make you feel confident too. That's something learners don't always expect. They think confidence comes after fluency, but really, fluency grows from confidence.
That's such an important point. When you feel safe answering a question, your English flows more naturally.
Exactly. You stop translating in your head. You stop panicking. You respond like yourself, just in English.
And that's the whole goal of learning a language, expressing who you are, not hiding behind memorized lines.
Yes. And something beautiful happens when you start answering questions with confidence. People connect with you more. They listen to you. They enjoy talking with you.
Totally, because confidence is attractive. Not loud confidence, but calm confidence. The kind that says, I can handle this conversation.
Yes. And once you feel that, speaking English becomes fun, even when the question is personal or difficult.
And I think learners sometimes forget that even native speakers don't know all the answers. They also use thinking phrases. They also take time. They also give simple responses.
Exactly. So when learners do the same, they're not hiding their weakness. They're speaking like real English speakers.
And once that clicks, everything changes. You start noticing that you're not lost in conversations anymore. You're part of them.
Yes. And you begin trusting yourself. Your English becomes more natural because you stop fighting with it.
So, to everyone listening, remember this: you don't need perfect grammar to answer any question. You need calmness, honesty, and simple structures.
Yes. And you already have those inside you. You just need to practice using them in English.
And every time you answer a question, even a small one, you're becoming more fluent.
One answer at a time, one conversation at a time. That's how fluency grows.
Exactly. So, trust your voice, trust your ideas, and trust your English, even if it's still improving.
You're learning, you're growing, and you're moving forward. And that's what matters.
Thank you for spending this time with us. We hope these tools help you feel stronger and more confident in every conversation.
And remember, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present.
See you next time on Love English Lab.
Take care, everyone, and keep speaking with confidence.